be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus entered a village where a woman whose name was Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary who sat beside the Lord at his feet, listening to him speak. Martha, burdened with much serving, came to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me by myself to do the serving? Tell her to help me." The Lord said to her in reply, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have you ever heard the expression, driven to distraction? Many times. All of us have had many distractions in our lives. Like when we were kids at school and the teacher caught us staring off into space. Back in my days, that was called daydreaming. Now I think they have a more scientific name for it. Or when we're driving our car and our cell phone rings. Driven to distraction. But what causes a person to be distracted? Well, it could be a lack of concentration, a lack of focus, just a lack of interest, or maybe just sheer boredom. I'd like to tell you about a true story about a person that was distracted. This lady went on vacation, true story, to Kansas City. And it just happened to be that Paul Newman was filming a movie there. Well, one morning, she got up and she had a craving for something sweet. So she walked across the street from her hotel to an ice cream parlor. And lo and behold, there was Paul Newman having a donut and coffee. Well, she was a big Paul Newman fan. And her first reaction was to run over, give him a big hug and a kiss. But she said, "No, I'm a 45-year-old lady, not a teeny bopper. I'm going to compose myself and go up to the counter," which she did. Not even giving him a sideways glance, just keeping her composure. She ordered a chocolate ice cream cone, and when she left and went outside, she noticed that she had a handful of change, but no ice cream. So she thought she had left it inside on the counter, maybe the clerk was still holding it. And she felt a little embarrassed about going back inside, but by goodness, she was going to go back and get her ice cream. So she walked back inside, and when she did, she noticed that Paul Newman had this big grin on his face. And when she walked up beside him, he stood up and said, "Lady, your ice cream cone you put in your purse." I would say that this lady had lost her concentration and her focus. In the gospel reading, we see that Martha has been driven to distraction. Jesus comes over to visit her and Mary. When he arrives, Mary sits down beside him, intently listening to what he has to say, while Martha is busy scurrying around the house, cleaning, making dinner, maybe only catching a word or two of what Jesus is saying. And finally, Martha gets upset and goes to Jesus and complains to him that Mary is not helping her. Well, we know from reading other passages in the Bible that Jesus loved Martha very much. But in today's gospel, Jesus admonishes her for being too preoccupied, too distracted with the little earthly things and not really focusing on what is truly important. In a devotion that Jane and I recently read, God says, above all the clamor of things that are trying to distract you in this world. Stay focused on me. And I think that's exactly what Jesus was telling Martha, the message he was telling her in the gospel. Now, God brings gifts to our lives. In the Old Testament reading, he brought the gift of the promise of a son to Abraham and Sarah. In the gospel reading, he brings the gift of his word in the form of his son Jesus, who Martha could have enjoyed if she hadn't been so preoccupied with the little earthly things. And God gives each one of us gifts in one form or another. And one of the most precious gifts he gives us is the gift of time. And what God asks is that we spend some of that time with him, praying, reading his words, and ministering to others. So whenever life tends to overwhelm us, and perhaps we start to lose our spiritual focus, let us reconnect with God and spend some quiet, undistracted time with him. And let his words bring comfort, joy, and peace into our lives. For as God has said, many distractions will compete for your attention on your life's journey. But focus on me, and I will guide you safely home.